assisting with criminal defense attorney issues and things of that nature. But I'm basically here to tell you today why I'm running. I'm running because our district has been neglected for a long time. And I'm running because it's time that somebody put our district first. My platform to some people may seem lofty at times or just very generic, but it's personable to me. As a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, as a granddaughter of someone who lives in the district, because my family lives in this district, I take everything in my platform serious. One of them being ending the cycle of warehouses as our main economic development. We need diversity in this city for economic development. We also need to discuss different ways to attribute to public safety. And we need that through community engagement, something that the city and quite frankly, city council is lacking. Instead of always doing it the same old way, maybe we need to look at some different ways of conducting that. And we need to add transparency and integrity back. A lot of candidates are talking about transparency and integrity, and a lot of them don't really believe in it, and that's something that's extremely missing on our city council. So those are some of the reasons that I'm running. As we go through this conversation today, you'll get to hear a little bit more about my platform, you'll be able to ask me some questions, and we can interact.
Thank you so much. Ms. Cabrerra?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Minister, for organizing this and giving us this opportunity to come out here and talk to everyone and also answer some questions. And thank you as well for coming out and taking time out of your busy schedules. You know, we're a commuter city, we all have to work, some of us multiple jobs, some of us go to school, some of us have children, and it's tough here in the city. And so my name is Ulysses Cabrerra. I've been on the city council for a year and 4 months, approximately. It's going to be a year, 5 months next month on November 6th. And it's a real short time. It's shorter than Congress. They only get 2 years. I only got a year and a half to try to prove myself and to try to do as much as I possibly can for District 4. And outside, we have some of these, which kind of on the left-hand side tells you a lot of what I've worked on in this year and a half, from public safety to fixing roads in District 4. That's something I fought for a lot, and bringing those funds to District 4. And if you live off Iris in that area, JFK, you've seen it. And also Cactus, and that's something that we need to keep moving forward. And public safety as well. We just opened a new police substation on Iris and LaSalle because that shopping center, there's a lot of problems going on in that shopping center with homelessness and loitering, and residents have been telling me for a long time, since before I even came on the council, and that's something that we are working on with the property manager. So a lot of other things, and I know we're gonna get to that because the questions are gonna come, but we need consistency. We need real leadership. And if people are changing, constantly rotating on the city council, nothing is gonna get done. And that's why I'm running for office for my second time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to the both of you for the introduction. And now we'll dive into the questions, and we'll start with you, Ms. Menard. My question for you is, what do you hope to accomplish in your when you walk in the door, if elected? What's your main focus? If you could just pick one thing to focus on, what would it be when you walk in the door if elected?
So one of my main focuses is to restore faith and transparency in city council when I walk through that door. And the reason that is because when I'm talking to residents, when I'm out here canvassing with my son, with my husband, that is one of the main things everyone keeps discussing is what is really going on at City Hall? Why don't we feel welcome there? Why can't I go in there and just have an answer given to me? Why is there so much happening that I feel like it's done behind closed doors and it's shady? So those are the things that I hope to restore, because like I said, integrity is important. Integrity is what's needed, and integrity is what's missing from the city council, and it's what's missing in District 4. The residents don't feel like they've had proper representation. And And I'm sorry, this starts before Mr. Cabrerra. And that's just the truth. It starts all the way back to Marcelo Cup. And so that's the fracture and the break of what's happened in District 4. So I hope on day one to get in there and give them that transparency and that open door policy that a lot of residents have been looking for.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Cabrera.
Thank you.
However, you're there currently. Is there anything that you have not touched that if you had to start all over and you walked in the door tomorrow, what would you start with?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I completely agree with you. It's something that the city council has been lacking for a long time, politicians in general. But you asked, what is the first thing once I come back?
Yes.
Is addressing, once I come back, Lord willing, is addressing the contract that we have for our sheriff's department. I think that's something that we can all agree on, that our public safety needs a lot of help. And I know it's a touchy subject, but if I have to sacrifice myself to do what's right for the city, to bring more officers, more deputies, more CSOs, whatever it is, then I will do that. Because I'm not here to try to make a career out of being in politics, out of being in an elected position. I care deeply about Moreno Valley. I've had family here for about 20 years, even though I haven't been here since 2005. I've been here for about 4 years. But I care very deeply about Moreno Valley. And
sorry to cut you off, but before you move forward, share with us some of the discrepancies in the contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so one of the things is how currently Moreno Valley doesn't really write our own contract. We defer to the county and basically allow them to do that for us. It needs to be more of a collaboration, an open conversation where we sit at the table between the city and the sheriff's department and see how we can better serve our community. Because another thing that we share, a common concern between the cities all over California and the county and the sheriff's department, is the cost. That's one thing that the sheriff has talked about, and whoever comes in for that position, they're going to have to keep working on that, trying to figure out how are we going to address the increasing costs for public safety, specifically police officers. And so that's one of the things, the wording in the contract, and also looking at our ratio of deputies to CSOs and how we can better address the problems here in Moreno Valley. That cost, looking for other ways to bring down the cost.
All right, thank you. Ms. Bernard, what have you currently been working on, or what volunteering or what impact do you think you currently have on the city, if any?
Okay, so currently, I will say this, I've been kind of in a semi-retirement. I gave birth to my son roughly 2 months ago. So I'm just now getting back into the swing of things of that nature. As far as volunteering, I do help out with the homeless. As my role as a social worker, it's not that I go out seeking the homeless. I go out and I just want to have a conversation with them, have them understand the services that are available to them, and help link them in with services. So I do things of that nature. Also, I go around and I mentor with different groups. I talk with different women's groups and discuss job skills, doing resume writing for them, things like that. Those are things that I hold personal to me. It's why I don't discuss them, because for me, this is stuff that this is who I am. So sometimes when you are something, you just do it, and you don't do it for the glory of anything. You do it because it's the right thing to do. So if someone calls me and says, can you come talk to so-and-so right now, or they need help with a resume, I say, okay, fine, let's go over some interviewing skills and let's do that.
Thank you. Ms. Bernard touched on the homeless, and I want you to carry it on briefly there. There's an epidemic in our city, and I mentioned earlier in the previous forum. It's not just in our city. I took a trip from here up north on a train. Alongside the railways, that's all you see. I'm a drug and alcohol counselor, and I was in a conference in Orange County last week. And I talked to a group there that has an amazing homeless program. And it's called a charity bed. So the homeless just go into the police station, turn in their drugs or do whatever it says I give, I need help. And the city provides that for them. Beautiful program. It's an epidemic. How would you address this issue?
Yeah, and maybe after I answer this, if I could touch on the question that you asked, Ms. Bernard, but I'll answer your question first. And that program, I have not heard of that specifically yet, so that's something I want to find more out. But to address the problem here, the previous forum, I brought up an idea, and step one was the homeless to work. But step number 2 in the next term is addressing the housing issue. Because only when we provide that housing to homeless individuals is when we can really truly provide the services, get them off of their addictions, provide them the social help, interacting with them and staying with them as much as possible so they have that human communication. And so that's the next step, and if I may share a little bit about.
Yes, certainly, but let me ask you this question, because homeless is not just homeless. It's either a drug problem or a co-occurrent disorder, which is mental as well. And you have to take the two tandem in most cases. So how would you go address that?
Yeah, you're right. There's different groups of homeless. There's the ones who are homeless because they end up without a job or family issues. There's the ones who are homeless because they have mental disorders. You see them all the time. And there's homeless who have drug problems. I talk with them all the time. They have their 40 ounce or their J, and they're right in front of me doing that. So one of the things that I think, so there's different groups. The veterans, we can work with the JPA, the facilities that we already have there, like the US Vets or the hospitals that we're working on. But outside of that, for everyone else who's not a veteran, working with the hospitals that we already have, our UHS and also Kaiser, to try to provide them more services and see how we can collaborate. Because we also have nonprofit organizations. For example, they're called PHILAM, the Paris Valley Filipino American Association, and they have a really good program for mental services, but they only help each other, the Filipino community. So maybe expanding on that.
Thank you very much. I'll give you 30 seconds to comment on what you wanted to respond.
Yeah. So regarding things that I've done, that I've been a part of in the community, if you look at this at the bottom, it talks about cultivating community, and it's something that I work on because we need more of that here in town. I agree with Ms. Bernard. Like the Homeless to Work program that we started in December. Also, building a new skate park for our children, for our kids here in the lower economic areas of the city. Also, the community cleanups that we regularly do, trying to help clean up the city. When I see someone throw trash out of the window, that's my big pet peeve. Bringing a farmer's market to City Hall, the Latino Film Festival, first one we ever had in the city, the first official art fest, the Food Truck Festival, the My Mobile Summit. Some of you here have been at those events. Those are all brand new things that we brought in the past year and a half, and we need more of it. This is only the beginning.
Thank you. Ms. Bernard, as we watch our city council as it sits currently, and please, I mean every, I don't mean anything derogatory by this question, but there's no one that sits currently on there that look like you and I. If not elected, what's your feeling around that?
So my feeling is that while I understand the need for diversity, I understand that people would like to see diversity, at the end of the day, I'm a human first. So diversity is always nice. It's always nice to see someone that looks like you. It's the same thing when your children go to school and they have teachers that look like them, so then they know they can succeed and grow and do different things, or they find a job and they see someone that looks like them. But at the end of the day, I'm a human. And I wish that we at some point could get away from always looking out and making it about race. And I try to stay away from that. Growing up where I did in the city of Riverside, my friends are diverse. If anybody has seen my wedding photos, or you come to my house and hang out with my friends are everything from Pacific Islander to white to Hispanic to my friends are everything. And for my son, they all look at him like they are his nephew. So I would like to see the diversity. I understand the importance of seeing that person is diverse, But I'm also remembering that at the end of the day, you want the best person for the job, and that should go above race, creed, sexuality, and anything else. It should be the best person for the job.
You're currently sitting on city council. What's your thought on city officials and diversity?
All right, we can still show. I'm sorry, Minister, can you repeat that?
What's your thought on diversity when it comes to city officials?
Yeah, absolutely. We need better representation. And if you look back, it was a really long time before Moreno Valley ever had a first minority on the city council, and it finally happened. And so we need to keep moving in that direction. And I agree with Shaylinda's comments as well. It doesn't matter about the color of your skin or what country you come from or where your parents come from. For example, Congress. You see what's going on in Congress right now, and we need much more diversity, better representation, equity at all levels in elected positions. And so we need to keep moving in that direction. We'll see what happens in District 2. We have a few candidates over there, a good mixture of candidates over there, so we'll see what happens. And I grew up in Compton. My best friends were African American and Hispanic. I spent 9 years in Texas, one of the reddest states in this country. I had a lot of friends from all different countries in the world, and I get along with everyone. If you know me well enough, you know that I will talk to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are.
Thank you very much. Audience question? Now I have tons more. Yes, no, maybe so?
Oh, come on,
All right.
you guys. Nobody?
Here we go. So they're thinking of it. They'll come back to it. We'll start with you, Ms. Bernard. Let's stay with the same diversity. However, we'll go to business and not just city level. What's your feelings about the current economical structure in the city?
So, personally, when we talk about diversity, when it comes to economically, I prefer to talk about the diversity of the businesses. I understand where you're going with the question.
That's the question.
Okay, so the diversity of the businesses. Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, so currently, what I've noticed in the city of Moreno Valley is that we have a structure of basically warehousing is how we've funded a lot of what's happening in the city. But everything has a bust and a boom. It's natural progression. It's how we ended up in the recession for housing, and it's just naturally how we end up in recession. You cannot bank your entire economic or most of your economic development on one industry, warehousing being one of them. Where I live in particular, I have a warehouse behind me. I have an empty lot where Prologis would have loved to put another warehouse. And we have a few more warehouses on a few streets on the side of us. So the issue is, though, people always say warehouses create jobs. We have a number of warehouses that have nobody in them and they're empty. So warehouses can't create these jobs if they're empty. Yes, they're paying taxes to the city, but if they're not hiring residents,
Can I stop you and I'll let you continue? You were saying that there's a bubble, that in every industry. Are you saying that at some point you see an end to Amazon, which is
economic bubble?
so not that I see an end to Amazon because we all know that.
Or that way, not
Oh,
Amazon in particular,
okay.
but that structure.
No.
Yeah, not that necessarily there's going to be an end to the wave of like the big home delivery style businesses. But you cannot assume that we're going to be able to have these warehouses, couple 10,000 square feet warehouses, and they're always going to operate at the highest capacity with people in them. We need to talk more about logistics, which is the moving of goods. So that's fine, we can talk about that, but we also need to talk about how we're going to capture those jobs as we move to automation. Driverless trucks are a real
reality.
thing. They're testing driverless cars, which means driverless trucks are next. And why? Because you don't have to pay them, make sure they're off the road for so many hours. You don't have to worry about them sleeping or getting into accidents. So this is the way. What we need to start thinking about is how to capture the other side of that economy, which is training residents how to go in there, fix the machines, how to operate them, teaching them how to be project managers, how to operate and manage logistics centers and warehousing.
Thank you. I did give you your time back.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Same question. Mr. Cabrerra.
Thank you. So in terms of the economics, I mean, the Inland Empire is in a good position economically right now. And my take on the United States economy is that it's currently doing great, but that's an illusion. It's not really doing great. We keep printing out more money, we keep borrowing more money, our national debt keeps going up, we're not cutting any spending. And so specifically here in Moreno Valley, I mean, if you look at stockbrokers, people who invest into the market, the best approach is to diversify your portfolio. And Moreno Valley needs to take that same approach as well. So right now with the warehouses that we do have, the ones that are sitting empty, we need to do a better job at going for companies that are not just coming from China. We need to look at other countries that are doing well also, that are building companies, big, huge companies that can come and be tenants here and bring the jobs, such as Germany. Germany is doing very well in the world right now. And also South Korea. You need to look at other countries who can bring companies here. And so that's just part of it, but at the beginning you mentioned the diversity of the businesses here, and I want to get back to that. Moreno Valley is 60% Hispanic, Latino. And I mean, there's a lot of diversity already in the businesses here. But also, I want to kind of touch on a topic that you brought up, Ms. Bernard, regarding preparing our labor force for the jobs that are coming. And I work in construction.
But before you go there, I think Ms. Bernard didn't agree with there's already diversity. Or did I misread you?
No.
I did?
No,
You
you're
want to
correct.
address that?
Yeah, so
The fact that you said there's diversity, can you elaborate on
So there's different things. I mean, you know, what kind of diversity are we talking about? Like rich versus poor, ethnicity. There's different kinds of diversity. But here in town, I mean, we have restaurants that are owned by Hispanics, restaurants that are owned by African Americans, Caucasians, different groups, Asian groups as well. But I think the more important one is the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The middle class is disappearing every single year. And that's why I bring up things like the tax cuts, where we don't actually get a direct benefit from that. And also the tariffs that were recently imposed and that they keep imposing, all of that is making things more expensive for us. And it's making it less diverse, less opportunity for the small mom and pops, the father and son companies to start up and to get going. It's very, very difficult nowadays. It's easy for huge corporations to do that because they have a large amount of capital to do that. And so that's something that the whole country needs to worry about, not just Moreno Valley.
All right, thank you, Tom. You want to address that before I go to the next question?
Yes.
Gentlemen, you're sitting here, do you have a question?
Well, I think that I don't know if it's appropriate. Because it's specifically to Mr. Cabrerra, and I don't even know who was on the council then.
Okay, well, ask it in a general sense, after Ms.
you're
Bernard
done.
responds.
Oh, very good that you sense that I look like this.
I can see you
You
thinking.
know, I know.
I can see you thinking.
I know, and you know when I did that like that.
Yes, Ms. Bernard,
Okay.
address that, because I see her thinking as well.
Okay, so Ulysses continually brings up everything that's happening throughout the United States and diversity through that and the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. So the one thing that strikes me when he says that is, for instance, you're part of the council that is approving these warehouses that are making or allowing for these low-wage jobs to come in and bring those temporary jobs in also. Now, I'm gonna applaud Amazon, because Jeff Bezos finally did the right thing and gave everyone a prevailing living wage, which is $15, which, by the way, good. You're the richest man in America at this point. You can do that. But when you do that, you help create the income gap, because then you bring in these homes that they can't afford on these salaries. So it's kind of a contradictory statement to me to say, for instance, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, we're losing the middle class, but in the same instance, you approve these warehouses that bring in a lot of these low wage jobs. So it's just a contradictory statement, and I do take offense to that, because as someone who speaks with young people, it kind of is one of those things where they know that they're working these warehouses to get by, and sometimes they can't see the end of the rainbow, but they know that they have to work in them. And you tell me like, okay, well, we should expand in the industry, but at the same time, these jobs are low wages. So where are they going to go? What are they going to look for? How are they ever going to have hope of the American dream of buying a home if these jobs are here and they're temporary? They aren't providing their benefits.
Let me interject. A few years ago, I was speaking with someone about automation, and their whole concern was that we can't do this. The jobs are being taken away from us, and this person is getting a job, this person is getting a job. My question to them was, well, this was prior to the automation of the soda, just the cups drop out at McDonald's and it goes around and it fills it up. This was prior to that. And I said, there's going to come a time where some stuff like this is going to happen. Automation is going to happen. You can't stop it. I grew up in Mississippi, and my parents picked cotton with their hands. It would be a sad case if when I grew up, there was no machine to pick cotton, and I had to still pick cotton with my hand. So what I'm saying to you is growth is going to happen. I'm so glad we don't have to get on the freeway with horse and buggies. The car was developed. So my question to you is, my statement to you is, I think this boils down to education. What if they repaired the machines that did the automation? What if they developed the machines that did the automation? What if education is, I think, the key to everything? What if the person, instead of them going to work in that warehouse, went to college and learned how to make the machines that does the automation in the warehouses? So I think education is a key, and this is not digressing from what you're saying. I'm just adding to what you're saying. If you don't want to work the warehouse job, get an education. I'm saying this from a personal standpoint. I have 4 kids, 25, 26, 27, 28. Go to school and do what you want to do. You call your own shot. You make your own career. And I think that's where we need to start, and we need to start talking education, because you can be the person that's running Amazon, that's hiring people. However, I think you're making a great point, and you highlighted the fact that they're going to these places where it's just, you never get ahead. You'll never get ahead. So that was a great point. And I just want to add to it about a conversation I had almost 20 years ago. And it's here. It's happening. Thank you so much. Last question. I'm sorry. Deborah, you want to come? You got 30 seconds as she coming to address that.
Yeah, so we also need to work on bringing in commercial retail, not just industrial, and also light industrial. So the small mom and pop shops can come in and start renting out these smaller garages and opening up their auto body or mechanic shops, different things that they have. We need to also work on that. But the education, that's what I was getting to, and investing into Moreno Valley College, focusing on the medical industry, also everything that has to do with technology, computers. We have the hospitals here. We're investing into Moreno Valley College. I'm a student as well. As we go to school, we also need to work. And so we need to think about, where are my fellow students going to work? They're going to have to work somewhere while they go to school too.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so, and I've got 2 council people here, and like I'm kind of on the wrong thing. Before Dr. Gutierrez was elected, I believe that it needed only 2 people to get something on the agenda. Is that correct? Like, if you wanted to get something on the
Can we just address that?
Okay, well, no, I'm just want to get my information right. Because then when you got elected, it was changed to 3, is that correct? That's what I want to know. Did you vote to have the number of city council people who needed to prove an item to 3? Why would you do that?
Why is she talking that way?
No, I'm just asking.
It's a question.
I'm asking.
Time out.
I'm asking, why would you vote to have 3 council?
Time out. I'll let me finish. No, I'll let me
That's
finish.
it. You heard my comment.
I don't know if you heard it because someone interjected. Please, no crosstalk.
Thank
The person that's at the mic is the only person, you want to address that before you come? Yes.
Sure thing. Yeah, so yeah, it was changed to 3 council members required to put an item on the agenda. Now, the way I look at it is it forces us to try to work together. I know there's different opinions on that, but it forces us when we're up on that dais to try to have these conversations and try to have a consensus. And also, I think it makes things a little bit more efficient. If 2 council members are able to continuously put more and more things that the majority of the city doesn't agree on, then it's constantly going to be staff working on things that are not going to come to fruition, like in Congress, bringing bills to subcommittees, committees. They have to, the majority of them, they take them out. They take them out and they only focus on the really important ones that matter to the city.
For clarification and understanding, majority rule is what's happening, to simplify it?
Currently, with the 3 council members required to put an item on the agenda, that's how it's working.
Okay.
Follow-up question?
Okay, follow-up question. No, because I've been documenting since this council's been in place. Old councils used to meet 4 hours on average. There's been like 5 study sessions canceled this month. Nothing's happening. Most city council meetings are over at 7:30. So to me, it feels like we're not getting anything done because you're scrutinizing so severely what you're putting on the agenda. So it feels like to me that the city council is not working very hard. That was more.
How does items make the agenda?
Yeah.
How do items make the agenda?
Yes.
Yeah, so at a council meeting, public council meeting, you need 3 council members to have consensus at least to put an item on a future agenda or to make a request for a study session or something like that. So that's how it works right now. And I
But
think,
it wasn't
was
that
the
way
question?
before.
It was not like that
No,
before.
not in that way before.
Thank you.
Can I just interject here? So I understand what Ms. Craig's issue is that before it took basically a simple majority, and now it's more of a super majority, more or less. So I understand the council's attitude with that, and I'll just say this just to dead this right now. The issue is, if it only took 2, then we might run into, as he said, a cycle of the same issues being pulled over and over. Whereas if it takes 3, then yeah, we all need to have this discussion so we're not continually arguing about the same things. So many citizens may or may not agree with it because they say, well, the old way, with time things have to change. And the new way was put in place to make it more efficient.
Okay.
It does force them to work together. I understand that people believe there's
It
a
doesn't.
voting block of 3. I get that, and that's where a lot of this argument is coming from, is the voting block of 3. But